take my medicine, but I've been having all these nightmares about the IV. Every little pinprick, each violin needle stick, every little chisel just scraping the bone, till I feel nothing at all. The air is stale here, it's cut with bleach and mixed with fear. The TV just plays talk shows and they're coming in clear. A scripted reality, TV started telling me, well, she's got a lot of problems, she hasn't had her hair done in weeks, till I feel nothing at all. All I want is just a moment or two of peace, to listen close for that slow and steady hum. But if every song's a story, what am I saying now? Just singing about the water while the whole world drowns. It feels a little frivolous, one more point for them to miss. I'm reading every comment and I'm gasping for air, till I feel nothing at all.
Welcome to the Sound Underground, brought to you by Heid Music. I'm Jonathan Leahy, and I am honored to be here with someone who I would like to call my friend, and I think he calls me the same.
Well, of course.
Christopher Gold.
Did I come here to find out we're not really friends? Is this kind of intervention to get me to stop texting you?
I need other people to come in the room and be like,
With
Chris,
two witnesses,
we love
leave me
you
alone.
very much, and this is the moment of truth.
Yes.
Thanks for being here.
It's my pleasure.
Exciting to force you out of bed on a Tuesday morning and make you play music at an ungodly hour.
It is early.
But you sounded lovely, and
Thank you.
And I think the people out there in YouTube land will agree when they are treated with it. I'm going to skip all the stuff of wasting time on all the reasons why people need to know you exist, because I'll have a lot of stuff that we put in the description of where to find you and all your wonderful art and music that you create. So, shameless plugging moving forward.
Thank you.
Let's start with a silly question just to kick things off.
Oh, good.
Pre-show meal.
None.
None.
I don't like to eat before I go on stage. I'm the guy that, like, the rest of the guys are like, we got to go find some food. And I'm like, nah, we don't. We need to be, like, light and limber, and then we'll eat after.
Interesting.
A lot of coffee before I go on stage.
Oh.
But no food for hours before I go on stage. Unless there's a health concern, because I have had very hot outdoor summer shows where the no pre-show meal thing sort of came back to bite me in the form of spots and lightheadedness.
Oh, I'm getting dizzy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a gamble.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't sweat it all out and pass out.
Yeah.
Well, now I can't do a follow-up of like, well, then what's your favorite pre-show meal? Nothing.
No, none.
well.
Coffee.
Coffee.
Yeah.
But that's a good answer.
Thank you.
Set lists
Yes.
for solo and band shows?
Just for the band.
Okay, that makes sense.
And if there's a serious time constraint, like sometimes with the solo opening sets, they say like you have 30 minutes, and I like to sort of know what I'm doing in that 30 minutes. But if it's anything more than that, I usually know how it starts and how it ends, and then I sort of let the crowd or the room even sort of like, these kind of songs sound better in this room, or this crowd likes these kind of songs, or maybe this crowd doesn't like these kind of songs, but I don't particularly like this crowd, so I'm playing more of those, that kind of, it could be any number of things.
Double down on the energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like to play a lot of new stuff in the solo sets, so.
When you guys do set lists for the band,
Yes.
is that a democratic process? Is everybody kind of chipping in? Is that something that you sort of create and pass out and say, this is what we're doing? Oh, Captain, my captain.
Yeah.
Like,
I make them and I pass them out, but we have, for as many songs that I have, the band only knows at any given time like 20 of them. So if we're playing an hour-long set, it's never that surprising like what songs we're playing. And then I tend to make the set just because I'm the only one who's like switching guitars, because a decent chunk of the set is in drop D. So I found it easier to just like switch to a drop D guitar. And I'm the only one moving a capo like a lot. So it's easier for me to like, the capo's on the 3rd fret for these 3 songs. So we'll group them together. And then these 3 are all on drop D. So we'll group them together. But we have our standard kind of openers and closers.
When you're constructing that set list flow for the band, now, like you said, you're the one who's doing the most instrument changes, capo changes, and things like that. Zim does background vocals. Mm-hmm. Does anybody else sing at this moment?
No, not on stage, no. They all have lovely voices and have been utilized to varying degrees in the studio. But in a live setting, it's always just me and Zim.
So then it's not as much, there's not a ton of like planning that has to be done as far as like who's got what part live.
No, it's always just Zim singing the Zim parts and me singing the other parts.
I'm gonna just have to keep this on my lap.
We need like a little desk.
I do. I need a tiny desk.
Plus, in case this ever gets heated, I need something to. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna pound my fists on my own. I was gonna
say you want fist pounding speech giving.
Maybe
vibes?
I don't know where this is going. I don't know what kind of questions you have in your little book.
Something people who are already really familiar with you and your music definitely are accustomed to experiencing at your shows and on your records, and listening to your occasional social media live impromptu performances, and your show on the Avenue is storytelling.
Yes.
So I think without you even introducing yourself that way, a lot of people who are familiar with you consider you a storyteller.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
Well, how inextricable, if it is, do you consider that from your songwriting and like your identity as a musician?
Certainly, it can be done. Like I can separate the two and just play a bunch of songs for you. But I think it's a more satisfying experience for me and a more unique experience maybe for the audience if there are more stories and jokes. And it's just sort of like the natural way I behave on stage.
And in person.
And in person, I suppose. And it's just part of what I'm drawn to, like the musicians that I'm drawn to. I remember being a kid and like getting a live record and being so bummed that it's just them playing the songs. I have this, except on the actual record they're in tune and they're not playing them twice as fast. Like, what is this? What's this for? And then you start getting like, like when I was a kid, that VH1 Storytellers was like a big thing. And you got these opportunities to see that like, oh, these guys are kind of funny, or this song isn't really about what I thought it was about, or it's about exactly what I thought it was about, And that's the part of the show that changes from night to night. It's like you could come see me 2 nights in a row and it would be different set lists, but it would also be like half of what I say on stage is that day in that room, somebody in the crowd said something and then I responded, and it becomes like a whole long running thing. So it makes it sort of the moment in a way that I like.
With what you just said about the getting a live album and the disappointment of, oh, this isn't fleshing out any of the lore of this music for me.
Right.
Just a counterpoint to that, are there maybe particular artists or even like a genre of music for you that you don't necessarily feel is sort of like added to or edified by the storytelling component? Like,
yeah,
is
sure.
Is there validity to the trope of shut up and sing?
No, but there is something like I don't really like. If you come see me by myself, you might get up to 5 minutes of chit chat in between every song. If you come see the band, you might get chit chat like twice, and we do more like loops and drones and stuff in between songs, because there is something about like with a band, I'm going for energy, and with a solo show, I'm going for connection. The connection is served by the stories, and the energy is sometimes not. And I've also been to shows where like even I have felt like, oh, this is a long story. So yeah, it's about finding a balance, and it's not for everybody. I've had, not like 2 people like kind of complain that I talk too much on stage. But then I've had people very often say, like, I could just talk on stage. I don't know why I can't just be free to do the thing I do now, but everyone has an opinion.
I mean, I have always enjoyed the pace and energy of both your band and solo shows, and exactly that going back and forth, like you said, of the solo show taking on this intimacy of like, hey, we're all just hanging out.
I don't do it like that, Jonathan.
How are you? Not with the breathy NPR voice.
No,
but there's a comforting vibe that comes with the manner you take on in your solo persona.
My persona.
I think you have a solo persona versus a band persona.
Okay, sure.
Even just in your talking voice when you're on stage, like when you're solo, it's not full blown NPR, but it's hey, let's hang out and talk. It's very inviting. It's disarming.
Yes, the aim is connection, like I said.
But band shows get like
woo. I'm peacocking.
Yeah. But again, it comes across as sincere.
It is,
and
yeah.
It's not you're not pretending to have fun.
No. We played a show, and someone commented on how we were one of the only bands they had seen that year that was like smiling, and I was like, yeah, I think I said being in a rock band is like going to therapy at a water park. Like there's a release, and it's therapeutic, but it's also like the most fun a human like me can have. You know what I mean? And this was like a particularly big show that we had no business being at, but we had been invited to, and there were like 2,500 people there, and you just walk out on stage, and it's like, it would be silly to not try to enjoy this as much as is humanly possible. You know what I mean? Because at that point, like, the songs are all written, and this crowd's going to feel however they feel about it, and it's too late for me to do anything about it now.
I had to write that one down and keep a note for myself on the therapy at a water park thing, because that's a great little goldism.
Thanks.
We're going to call those that now.
Sure.
So here's a weird segue
Good.
from this and the delivering fun and delivering energy to people and kind of being, whether you mean to have any sense of ego in it at all, intentionally or unintentionally. Back in the dark times of hanging out at home, when you did the, hey, everybody, you talked in one of the song intros about wanting to sort of step back from less pleasant issues that are important and need discussing, but also need to be discussed and elevated by more eloquent and accredited voices than my own.
There are certainly more qualified people to talk about the more serious issues of the day.
But at the same time, you also said an interesting thing about wanting to deliver some positivity to people because that's what you're feeling. And also because it's something that I can offer that not everybody has a vehicle to receive right now. And if that is my contribution to the world being a little bit better place today, then that's something I can do. Can I tee you up on what that sentiment still means to you as far as why do we music?
Sure. Well, in the last few years, I have just accepted that, like, because that's why I'm here. I don't have a ton of other explanations for it, but like, it's one of the only things that I can't stop doing it. Like, even when there have been moments where I've been like, I'm not going to write for a while because I have all these other songs or because I'm busy doing this other thing. And they just, I wake up in the morning with like a chorus kind of thing. So you just sort of accept that and stop questioning it. But I also think there's something worth honoring if you find yourself in a position and with the ability to alleviate concern for other people, because life is hard and people need their concerns alleviated from time to time, even if for a moment. But also, I do think there is like a secondary or even primary like social political aspect to preventing burnout or remembering like sort of what you're fighting for in your efforts to make the world hopefully a better place, and to sort of take in like the whole scope of everything. Like even when people talk about like the dark COVID times, that was very dark. And like we personally lost some people and it, kicked my career right in the crotch. And, it was rough. But I also got to spend a year and a half of very intense time with my wife and my son, and especially my son, like as he was sort of exiting childhood and entering his teen years, where I know like our relationship is going to change and the amount of time we have together is going to change. And the world is not served by me being cynical or pessimistic, though admittedly that can be like my default position. I have to work pretty hard at like hope and optimism. But when I get there, it's usually in the form of like a 3-minute song that I can share with people. And like I have a song called Before You Were Born that I wrote about my wife and my son. And when I put it on a record, the response to it was a surprising number of women telling me that their husbands had told them, oh, that's how I feel about you and the kids. And I sort of feel like if I have the ability to do that for people, it seems not just like a noble pursuit, but like it would be bad to not do that for people if you can. Mm-hmm. But then that has led to struggles. Like I very often, I think you and I have talked about this, I very often struggle with the idea of like how does money play into this? Like if I have a song that might help somebody, do I want their having $10 to keep them from having the song? You know what I mean? So, but at the same time, I'm trying to, eventually send a kid to college, and it's tricky stuff. Mm-hmm. But, to answer your initial question, why music? Because we can't not. And if you can not, you should not. Like Dave Van Ronk said, if you can quit, you should.
That I've caught myself echoing something similar to like music students of mine in the past, private students who have gotten close to the end of high school and thinking about what they want to do for college. And anytime I hear them say, I was thinking about being a music major,
don't do it.
I just go, don't. If that's the phrase you're using, then that means do something else where you can afford all the gear, mm-hmm. and keep playing. Like, let it be something that fills your life with joy.
Yeah, it's totally fine to have hobbies and be passionate about your hobbies.
Yeah. Be philanthropic, please. If you also like stuff and vacations, and that's not meant to like bemoan some sort of noble starving artist thing, but like if you need that stuff, more than you need to go create and perform, well, then it's okay.
Yeah, I think some of the worst music in the world, if I can be blunt, comes from people that decide, I want to be famous, or I want to be successful, or I want to be rich, or I want to be known, or I want to be on stage, and then figure out, like, what songs do I need to get there? And the best music in the world comes from, I have to write songs, and I'll figure out how to make a living out of it if I can, and that kind of thing. But, like...
There's a thought that you left out of that list that I'm curious your take on, is what about the performer or composer who maybe approaches it from an idea of, people need to hear what I have to say?
That's a tricky one, because everybody has that to a degree. I try very, very hard to, like, just in life, like, kind of keep my ego down and not compare myself to other people and all that other stuff. But there is something that you have to just cop to when you're like, you know how I think tonight should go? I should be under a spotlight with a microphone, and 200 people should sit down and look at me and not say a word until I'm done, at which point they should hoot and holler and clap for me, because I'm God's favorite boy. You know what I mean?
Oh, I like that too.
There's something to that like, well, that's no good, but it is part of it.
Well, and isn't it sort of funny then to also have the audacity to have these conversations about humility and things like that, while at the same time being like, is this camera on me? Is this camera? We good? We good?
Right.
Hang on.
Right. Well, that's why I think the songwriting is so important. Like, if you're gonna have the audacity to go like, give me a light and a microphone and a crowd, the thing that you share under those lights and from that microphone and with that crowd had best be, if not good, at least sincere. You know what I mean?
Something earnest, something vulnerable.
Time. Yeah, I think so.
As someone in the area, another fellow musician that I greatly respect likes to say often, it is called show business.
Yes.
And we do like to get paid, because smiles and hugs can't transfer to we energies. So to now take that broader topic and kind of funnel it down to the impossible to answer thing.
Oh, good.
What does the future of music distribution look like to you personally? And what do you think it looks like for the broader scope of the industry?
I think that, as with every problem facing humanity. There is potential legislation, there is potential corporate change, but it's going to require the individual human to have a kind of awakening in regards to what they value and what they want the general shape of the world to be. Because the people that are sort of taking advantage of artists are not going to stop. They're going to figure out new ways to do that amidst legislation and things like that. If everybody that listened to music decided that, like, if I love a record, I'm going to figure out a way to get $10 to the person that made it, it would not matter as much. Again, like with every problem, they seem unsolvable because we put in charge of solving it people that we have no connection to and no interaction with and couldn't even if we wanted to. But if you decide that, like, you know, like, people are often commenting to me, I own something in the neighborhood of like 3,000 vinyl records, and people think that's notable. And I kind of think the opposite. I kind of think it should be the norm that, like, when I like a record, I pay for it because I have made records. And I know that, like, you buying a record is not gonna bump somebody into a new tax bracket or get them that bigger house, but it will 100% fund the next one. So when you buy a record, to one degree, you're saying, hey, this is a good record. But to another more important degree, for an independent artist, you're saying, I would like to hear the next one, please, because I liked this one so much.
That's impossible to disagree with.
Thank you.
Back to your music.
Okay.
October 2020, you released an instrumental record called Throat.
I did.
It's fantastic.
Thank you.
You gonna do another one?
I did do another one. It's called It Never Really Was What It Used to Be, but it's only on Bandcamp. So, like, a ton of people, again, this is the other thing. It's a known issue that, like, if you don't put something everywhere, it might as well be nowhere in like the digital age.
Yeah.
So there are a couple things like me and the guys, we released an EP like a month or two ago, but it's, again, a Bandcamp exclusive because of a lot of things, like very small. It's a financial thing. Like, you can actually buy music on Bandcamp versus some of the other places. Mm-hmm. But even, like, the quality, like the compression rate and all that kind of stuff is better on Bandcamp. So yeah, there is a second.
Well, folks, you probably already knew about it, and there was egg on my face the moment I asked the question. But I'm actually
the whooshing.
I'm actually, like, excited to leave this in because it highlights the point Chris is making about the complexity of exposure. And
even my friends don't know.
And because, like, I have a love-hate relationship with Bandcamp. Like, philosophically, I want to put all my energy into Bandcamp, and I want that to be, as far as digital consumption, I want that to be the place where I get everything. They changed the app interface a lot. Some days it's clunky. Some days they change it where it doesn't continue playback when you shut off your phone screen. I think it might be working that right now, but it's one of those things where it's like many apps on one's phone where it's like you use it for a while, then they change some button, and you go, and you uninstall it. And
angrily, we fear change.
We're still toddlers.
Yes.
I don't know how to use it anymore, and I feel like a child. Like, take it away. Like, and then I'll reinstall it because I know somebody put out a record, and the only place I can get it is there. So, guess what? I'll be reinstalling later today.
Sweet.
But I definitely hear and relate to, like you said, the financial impact of utilizing Bandcamp and other platforms that allow you to actually get paid for the thing you're putting out and get paid on a per user basis instead of, shall we say, a ubiquitous subscription that doesn't actually benefit you in any way, shape, or form. We won't name names.
Yeah.
We'll just say it that, the Spotify and everybody that smells like it is making it bad and hard. And I'm complicit too. I pay for Spotify Premium, so I'm part of the problem.
I have a complicated relationship with the streaming services because I don't exactly know what I think the solution to that is. There's a world in which someone at my level would have to pay to be on Spotify, because you could make the argument that I benefit more from Spotify than Spotify does from me. Like, it's pretty cool for me to be able to say, like, oh yeah, all my music is in your pocket right now if you want to check it out. And there's also something complicated about, like, when someone buys my record and I get their $10, I don't get $1 every time they listen to Roll On. So it's weird to think that I would now. But I also think that, like, I believe in fairness, and if people are using Spotify because this artist is on there, then that artist, to some fair degree, should be compensated for that. But again, these are things that I am not smart enough, informed enough, or qualified to talk about, but I'm very well versed in the economy of studio time, mixing time, mastering time, pressing costs. So the CD comes out to about $10, and then you sell it. This percentage of that goes to reimburse you for your expenses. This percentage goes into an envelope to make the next one, and this percentage is the money that you made. I get all that, and it's simple and it's clean, and I can do it in a parking lot. To answer your original question, yes, I made an instrumental record called Throat, but it came from sort of a dark, necessary place. So then I made a follow-up to it called It Never Really Was What It Used to Be that felt good because I was making it because I actually wanted to make it and not because it was the only way I could make music at the time. And I have demos and clips for when I think about the when or the if of a third instrumental record, it's a spaghetti western, Ennio Morricone.
You and I have had this
We've talked
conversation
about it a lot.
before.
It's going to happen. I just need to get a Jaguar.
I know a place.
Yeah.
All right, back to a frivolous question.
Good.
You own a few guitars.
Yes.
Pick one.
Can you give me any more direction, like acoustic or electric?
It's the end of the world. You get one.
Of mine?
Yes.
Okay. Because otherwise the answer would be like, oh, I want Joe Strummer's Telly.
Oh no. Sorry. Well,
One
okay.
of mine.
We'll use that answer for now. There, you just inspired me to split the question into two. Okay, you can own one guitar of all of human history.
Yeah.
There's your answer.
Probably Joe Strummer's Telly.
It's a good answer.
Thank you.
Okay, so now all the guitars you currently own, pick one as your post-apocalypse guitar. You're wandering the landscape with it.
For like tone and playability or sentimental?
You tell me.
Boo. See, it's hard though, because this is like, what's your favorite record? It's like, I don't know. Just for the sake of answering the question, is it a desert island or a place where I might be playing shows? Because that matters. Like, if the house is burning down, you don't really grab the sentimental one. You grab the one that you can go to work with and make money to rebuild the house.
Go wherever you're headed with that, because I think you're already answering the question.
If I had to, and I hate it, but if I had to, I have a Martin D35 with the amber tone finish that I bought at Heid Music, and it has a fairly lovely story attached to it. It had been hanging on the wall here for like a surprising amount of time for how pretty and nice it is. And I would come in and I would play it and I wanted it real bad. And my son would have been 4. That's wild. He's 4 years old.
A while ago.
Yeah. And my birthday came around and my 4-year-old son told my wife that we should get that guitar for Dad for his birthday. My wife was like, oh, we can't really afford it. You know what I mean? It's a very nice guitar. And my 4-year-old son was like, we should try to steal it. And we had a very nice conversation with him about why stealing is bad, because it's so hard to get away with. And we don't want you to get in trouble. But my wife thought that was really funny, and she posted on social media about it. And then what happened is a bunch of people in town saw the post, and this was orchestrated by a wonderful guy named Alan, and they like collected money for my birthday, and then the people at Heid Music kind of cut me a deal and bought one of my old guitars from me. Like my dad chipped in, and my wife and son chipped in, and like I have this kind of crowd-funded guitar, and now it's 10 years old, so it sounds really, really good, and it's a D35, and I can like play shows with it, so that one. Or I have an HD28 LSV.
You do.
Or
Or
I have a 1975 Alvarez Bicentennial that my grandpa bought for my dad in my hometown of Owensboro, Kentucky.
ooh, that's pretty
Or
cool.
the Firebird, because it makes me feel like more of a man. Or the any Telecaster. I have a Japanese Telecaster that I bought at Heid Music. I like that one a lot. Though I do love the fit of a Jazzmaster.
Let's count. Is that 5 end of the world guitars now?
I think it's 6.
Okay.
I have this new D18 that I would want to bring with. So Yeah.
I love that. I love that we came full circle in talking, in waxing philosophically about art and society and people's needs for it, and the complexities of distribution and a livelihood and whatnot. I love that we came full circle to guitars are pretty, and I want them all.
I do want them all. Like, people talk about, like, the amount of money that I could spend today on guitars that I, like, not even, like, fleeting whims of guitar, just, like, I've always wanted one of these. Like, if you gave me, like, a disgusting amount, like, $20,000-$30,000, I could spend it in, like, 20 minutes. I'm like, all right, we're going to get the SJ200 finally. We're going to get the White Falcon finally. We should probably get a black one, too, depending on what I'm wearing. So, I need the Jaguar. I need a 6-string Rickenbacker. It's hard.
And a 12.
I have a 12-string Rickenbacker.
Well,
How dare you?
I mean, you got a lot of. Have I seen that guitar?
Probably not. I got it. I have a friend who owns a shop, and he called me. He's like, hey, come here right now. I came in. He's like, we just bought this from a guy, and I'm not going to put it out because you're going to just buy it.
Okay, I have not seen this guitar.
You have not.
But I have heard you tell that story.
Yes.
Okay.
It's lovely. It's at home right now playing Tom Petty songs all by itself.
As well it should.
It just sits on the stand and jingles and jangles, and it's glorious.
I know I started to almost joke about this, coming back to some sort of like shallower point, but the irony is that it's not. Because the way you get all like little kid excited about like, oh, and there's this one, oh, and I can have a White Falcon, like it's that honestly is kind of for us at places like Heid Music or whatever your hometown shop is, that's why we do this, is because sometimes we get to hand somebody something that makes them go, oh, I've waited my whole life for this.
Guitars for me are like a bottomless well of enthusiasm and wonder and excitement. And I swear to God, sometimes we'll be sitting on the couch and my wife will be like, did you just smell that guitar? Like, I'll just like lean over and sniff it real quick because it's a Gibson and it smells like vanilla. Yes, I did.
Is it funny that I know which Gibson you're talking about?
J15?
Yeah.
There you go.
Now for the trope,
lightning round.
the trope of how you wrap up a podcast interview session. Chris, where can all the fine folks hear, see, find you? What's the ways to find you on the internet? What's the ways to find you in person? Where can people go and throw money at you in exchange for beautiful music?
ChristopherGold.com. Pretty much it. I mean, it's everywhere else, but like ChristopherGold.com will get you to everywhere else. Like it's on Spotify and it's on the other Apple Music and
Bandcamp.
Napster is still a thing.
I don't think so.
It's on LimeWire, but it's all labeled Madonna. But yeah, you can go to ChristopherGold.com and you can find out where I'm playing and listen to my music and, download it all for free, or you can pay for it if you want.
Pay him for it.
You can come see me live. I love doing house shows, and I'm trying to do more of that.
On ChristopherGold.com, would somebody just use like the contact button or something?
Yeah, if you email me from ChristopherGold.com, it goes right to my phone.
Awesome.
And if you have a White Falcon that you don't want anymore, I would just have it. Or an SJ200. Or a Jaguar.
Noted. We'll make sure to put
or
that
a Les
out.
Paul Jr. And like a nice burst with the wraparound bridge.
Okay.
Not with a humbucker in it.
P90.
Yeah, of course. That's one of those things. I try not to be snobby about it. Because like I have tellies with humbuckers in it, and people are like, it's not really a telly, but it's not a Les Paul Jr. if it doesn't have a P90 in it.
Fair.
It's terrible.
On that note, Christopher Gold, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for
Honored to
having me.
have you. Honored to hear your music, and look forward to hearing more of it.
There are a few people I would wake up at this hour for.
Aw. This has been Sound Underground. I'm Jonathan Leahy. This is brought to you by Heid Music. Check out links in the description for more about Christopher Gold and all his amazing endeavors. And don't forget to stop in and check out the guitars that make Chris happy and buy him one.
None of them have undersaddle pickups in them.
No undersaddle pickups.
Well, I've been staying up late, I've been sleeping in, and I've been reading Walden 5 pages at a time. I've been trying to love you a little better every day, and I've been learning not to need a thing. I've been having coffee late in the afternoon, trying to count these blessings 5 minutes at a time, and having longer kitchen conversations, and spending all my days singing all the old Bob Dylan songs to you. And they say better days are on the way, but I ain't really sure. 'Cause the days they said were bad were some of the best I'd ever had. And I know it's foolish, but I'll take a couple more. Lost a little money, I've been a little scared. I've lost a little status, tried my hardest not to care. But if the upside is late nights and a little more time with you, well, you know you won't hear me complain. And they say better days are on the way, but I ain't really sure. 'Cause the days they said were bad were some of the best I'd ever had. And I know it's selfish, but I'll take a couple more.